Let's switch gears. The raw milk movement becoming an unlikely battleground in America's culture wars. A growing number of outlets telling Americans to consider the products. We know Denise Gitsham is here to tell us more. And it also calls into question just how some Americans respond to warnings from the government. More states are also looking to take action and ease longstanding bans on raw milk. Joining me now is Denise Gitsham, NewsNation political contributor. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Denise. Great to see you.
Good morning, Hannah. How are you?
I'm great. Better with you on now. So we've seen a growing number of investigations, opinion pieces. It's all over social media. You know, it's across the political spectrum. Conservative outlet The Blaze recently published a piece called The Truth about raw milk the government does not want you to know. Of all things, raw milk. Why has it become such a political issue?
Well, let me just put out a disclaimer. I gave up milk a long time ago. I'm your classic California alternative milk drinker. I'll do anything other than that blue, watery, gray, sort of non-fat milk that I drank for a decade. So with that said, you know, there's something about the confluence of big lobbying, sort of big brother, and condescension from people who think they should be able to tell you what to do with your body and your choices and what you consume, that's coming together and shaping a much bigger sort of movement in politics. And that's what you're seeing with the RFK Jr. camp. That's what you're seeing with a lot of conservative bases, because they're tired of people overlooking the really big things like menthol cigarettes that are proven to kill us because of the influence of money. They're able to look the other way, or because of the politics of it. And instead they're focusing on people like, you know, an Amish farmer in Pennsylvania, you know, who's getting raided for selling raw milk.
Research on this topic has spiked because, and you and I have talked about this on previous shows, the bird flu outbreak on American farms. Do you think this growing interest in raw milk is just out of general concern? Is it more of an anti-government, anti-FDA stance?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, nobody really knows what to do with news outlets and the media and government and what people are telling us. They're not sure whether there's an influence from special interests. And if you follow sort of the money chain, I used to be a lobbyist, so I can speak to this. You know, Big Dairy spends $8 million a year, and they're you know, it's tainted. Like, the politics are inevitably tainted. And so I think that when people take a closer look at why we allow the things that we do allow into our bodies and to, you know, what the government just allows us to consume, and we see how dangerous those things are for us, really, it's hard to understand why they would single out, you know, a certain industry and a certain type of milk to make the villain in all of this. And I think people are just resistant to that. You know, the government overreach elicits a strong and equal and opposite reaction. And that's what I think you're seeing right now.
This has become such a high-profile issue, as you well know. Just for our viewers to know, 4 states have passed laws allowing for raw milk sales. That's just in the last 2 years. You know, the government typically doesn't move that fast. 7 states are considering easing their bans on the products. So what does this changing landscape mean for farmers, Denise? How do they keep up with these changing regulations nationwide?
Well, I think the only people who can are those who have the money and the ability to be able to adapt on the fly. You know, I think that that's one of those feelings that a lot of people have, which is, you know, like small businesses of all types, they're not able to keep up with or even have any say into what regulations ultimately end up being at the state or at the federal level. This is a game that only those with a lot of resources can play. And so I think that's also part of the pushback is, you know, most of the businesses and most of the employers in America are small businesses, and I'm sure small farms fall into that category. So when they're not able to keep up with ever-changing, you know, political whims that result in different regulations, they're frustrated, and rightfully so.
Denise Gitsham, I always enjoy our conversations, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Have a wonderful day, Hannah.
You as well.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.